Yes, yes. That's why, Dom, that is the genesis of why we use this software. Because we're like, okay, we cannot trust our guests to hit record and
Yeah.
record locally. So, yeah. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Off the Cut, a podcast where we talk about building, making,
and answering all of your questions.
I'm Eric from Spenceley Design Co.
And I'm Zach from Zach Builds. If you have a question that you would like us to answer on air, you can send it to offthecutpodcast@gmail.com.
You can find both of us on YouTube, Instagram, and unfortunately, because we have to keep up with the kids, you can find us on TikTok too.
All right, now let's get into the show.
Welcome to Off the Cut episode 104 for Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. And we want to continue to remind you that the absolute worst podcast available on Apple and Spotify is in fact the Green Suiters podcast. But the best place to buy woodworking tools is KM Tools, baby.
KM Tools. That's right. It's for woodworkers, by woodworkers, and if it's in their store, it's in their shop, or it was just straight up made by Jonathan and his amazing team behind the scenes.
Like the new box joint jig that they came out with.
So I haven't got my hands on that, but maybe this weekend we'll talk to Jonathan about that. I'd be interested to know what the design process was like.
Well, we had an email string going on about that, about getting them back on to talk about product ideation and stuff like that.
Yes, that's very true. So maybe any listeners at home, if you got any questions about what it takes to get a woodworking tool from idea to market, send it into the email address, and we'll get Jonathan to actually answer all that live on air.
Yeah.
We'll grill him.
Well, if you're looking for a great place to buy tools, head over to camtools.com. The cool thing is a big portion of their sales goes directly towards the Katz Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund, which gets tools and resources into the hands of folks who need it most. And this ad reads not just for us, it's for you guys too, because every month we're giving away a $50 KM Tools gift card. All you got to do is head over to patreon.com/offthecutpodcast and you're automatically entered in to win.
That's right.
But now that we got that out of the way, you know what else doesn't suck? We've got a guest with us tonight. What?
For the Grand Podcast?
For the Grand Podcast. Well, we've got a guest with us tonight. I got this intro. He's going to like it. Oh. You've seen him on infomercials trying to get you buy best of the 80s cassettes. You've seen him on the big screen on films like Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, and Rocky 4. You've seen him at Olive Garden. You've seen him beat The Rock in an arm wrestling competition. Adding yet another mediocre Canadian to the show. Please welcome Dom from M Inspired Living.
Based on that intro, my life sucks. Like, I haven't done any of those things.
You're telling me, I thought you were an extra in Rocky 2.
Rocky 2? I was alive when I think I'm probably the only one here that was alive when it came out.
When did that movie come out?
Yeah, let's say
early 80s. No, Rocky 2 that came out in the
Rocky 2. Yeah, Rocky 2 was I was alive in Rocky 2.
Were you?
You're right.
Yeah. All right.
It's like 82.
I wasn't even a gleam in my parents' eyes at that point.
I don't even think my parents loved each other at that time.
I probably chaperoned your parents at the school dance.
No, you were their scuba instructor, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I can't swim. I can't. What kind of scuba instructor would I be?
That's all right. Zach can't swim either.
Yeah, that's true. I think I told the story on the podcast, but I went and signed up to do scuba diving in the open ocean, not knowing how to swim, because my friends were like, "It's cool, you'll figure it out in the ocean." I was like,
"You have a tank. You have a tank of oxygen. What do you want?"
Yeah, exactly.
You can't drown.
If you sink, just walk back to shore. It'll be no big deal.
You just inflate your vest with air. You're good.
Yeah, no biggie.
Oh. Well, Dom, for people who live under a rock and don't know you, tell the people a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Where are you from? Who the hell you think you are?
I am Dom, as you said, My handle is M Inspired Living. I run a little, woodworking / content creation business from Toronto. I actually live in Zach and I live in neighboring igloos. We live
Mhm.
right next door to each other.
That's right. Every once in a while, we
Ooh.
send up a little smoke signal out of
Yeah,
our little igloo chimney.
yeah.
Do you have the bat signal?
No, we don't. What's
No,
We don't have Batman in Canada.
yeah, that's an
Oh.
American thing.
Is there a Canadian equivalent?
We're supposed to be getting it next year. That's what I heard.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, we have Beaver Man up here, Derek.
Yeah.
It's like
There you
Batman,
go.
but more Canadian.
Wait, hold on. You swear to God, Beaver Man? You're just screwing with me, right?
Yeah.
He sounds like
Yes,
a
of
more
course.
exciting
Of
superhero.
course. Although we do have beaver tails, which is a type of food, which I
Yes.
don't know if you guys
Yeah.
have down there.
That
It's a
sounds
fried
like
dough, right?
Yeah, it's like a fried piece of dough.
And then you like
basically.
put stuff on top of
Yeah.
it. A little bit of peanut butter, maybe some maple syrup or something like that.
I don't know. It sounds like a slang name for part of the female anatomy.
Definitely does. I will
But
not say that.
it is what it is. So, Dom, how did you come up with M Inspired Living? Because we were
Oh,
talking to
it's
somebody else, and they were
yeah.
like, "What's Minspired
Yeah,
Living?"
that's everybody. You know what? I'll tell you this. I hate my handle, but I feel like I've gone too far with it and that
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
too late to sort of change it because at the
To
time that I came up with
rebrand.
it, I didn't really know what I wanted to be. So I wanted sort of like a catch-all,
Catch-all.
and
Yeah,
then
totally.
like inspired was cool. And M is basically the first initial of my last name. That's
Okay,
where the
makes
M
sense.
came from. But I realized really quick that nobody knew how the hell to say it. Everybody's like Minspired, and then on top of that, like what the hell does that have to do with woodworking at all? Like in so it's
I think you're in the right like you had the right idea of taking something that's like nice and broad. Like we say all the
yeah,
time, if you're going to start a social media business, don't pigeonhole yourself
yeah,
really early on. Don't
Right.
say, like so and so's fine woodworking because in the
yeah.
future you might want to branch
Well,
out and to do something else.
that's the thing because when I started out, I started my Instagram channel and I had just started playing around with woodworking.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was thinking, what if I hate this? What if I hate woodworking, but I want to continue and I want to
Right.
Yeah.
transition into something else?
Yeah.
Right. So I wanted something, like you said, that was kind of broad enough to be able to transition. But
Yeah.
I've thought several times about just rebranding, but I just feel like I'm too far into it now. And I have a branding iron. Once you have a branding iron, you can't really
It's set in
brand.
stone, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
Once you
done.
have a
you
set
Yeah,
can't
of
buy
that's
a
it.
new one.
yeah, once you get a set of stickers, it's like that's it.
Yeah, no,
I'm too
that's it.
invested in this name. Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah, you
Or you get
buy.
one of those laser peckers.
Yeah, well, I think I see a laser cutter in your background there, don't I, Dom? Is that
Yeah.
what that
Oh
is?
yeah.
Well, I gotta
Yeah.
work on my background because you guys are all like nice, and I got like 2x4s and like bait on the ground, and
I'm in an apartment. Look, I've got all of our wedding stuff over in this corner in a cat tree.
Yeah, I
It's
was
just
gonna
out of
say
frame.
Derek's background or Eric's background is not nice. It's
I'm
No,
not gonna
it's
lie.
apartment.
I'm mildly disappointed that the scuba suit's not hanging off the
so
closet door in the back.
a lot of times it is. A lot of times it is. Eric, every podcast we do, I have to look at your closet door being out of alignment, and it bugs me.
Oh, dude,
Nah.
don't get me started. Don't get me started. Yeah, look at that. Hold on.
Goes
It's
from like a half inch at the bottom to a 16th
oh
at the top.
no, that's
Is it more?
probably about 2.5 inches at the bottom.
Oh, no way, really? Oh,
It is
jeez.
brutal. Like the people who constructed this place had to have been,
Yeah.
in-
Well, that's
incompetent to keep it polite.
yeah, that's large scale construction for you. They don't really care. It's just get it up as quick as possible, get out.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Dom,
Can't
tell
you
me a
just
little.
slap like an inch and a half of wood filler on the edge of that wall there and
Yeah,
build it
what you
out
do
a
is-
little bit?
Yeah, you get on the table side and you like rip something from 2 inches down
Yeah.
to nothing, and then just glue it on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Problem
have time
solved.
for that. I can't make a YouTube video on that. Why would I bother?
Oh, you definitely could make a YouTube video on it.
Not something that somebody would want to watch. So
Uh,
go
yeah,
ahead,
go ahead.
Zach, go.
Well, I just wanted to ask Dom how he got started in social media. What was the inspiration? Because I remember when I started, I looked for like people in Toronto who were doing like kind of a similar thing, and I found you, Mark,
Yeah.
and Vic,
Yeah.
all like basically at the same time.
Yeah.
Man,
So,
what
but I think
bad
you started like it
inspiration.
maybe a year or two before me. So I was
Yeah.
kind of
So
curious, like what was your journey like?
yeah, I started my Instagram channel in 2016. I
Okay,
started
okay,
it.
yeah,
And it was just sort of like I had no woodworking or DIY experience whatsoever before
okay,
I sort of started this. I worked like for years. I was a buyer for like a steel company here in Toronto.
oh, okay,
Right. Like I
cool,
worked in an office in a shirt and tie.
yeah,
And one day, so we have a cottage. Zach will know what I mean by a cottage. It's not
hmm
called a cottage down south. I think you guys would probably call it a cabin or like a lake house or
Sure.
something
But
like that.
cottage sounds so much nicer.
It
It
does.
really
Yeah, I
does.
guess. I think it's got a different meaning for you guys. It's like, what you guys can call Smarties or not what we call Smarties, but I, I digress. So I have this cottage. We're up there for the weekend and we go to again, Zach will know Blue Mountain, right? We go to Blue
hmm
Mountain, this little like ski resort area, like a half hour from where my cottage is. And we're looking in the little boutiques and stuff. And my wife sees this, wooden sign inside one of the boutiques for some crazy price that they had it for sale for. And me, never having done any sort of woodworking or anything manual, basically, I could build that thing for you. Like
Right.
we're not
Yeah.
spending that amount of money on that piece of junk. So we come back home Sunday evening, and I go in the garage and have like a handsaw and a hammer and like a couple pieces of like fence board left over from a fence that I didn't even put up. Someone put it up for me. I spent like the next 3 days like hammering this thing together and
hmm
you know like spray painting the words, and they all bled through so a piece of junk. But
And you're like,
that's
look, honey, it's way better than that
oh yeah, I was
garbage
like,
at the
but
store.
you know what? I was so proud of it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
look, I did it. And she was like, is he trying to be nice, right? Like, yeah, it's all right. Let's maybe we can hang it in this closet over here." But
hmm
I know the perfect place behind the laundry machines.
yeah, exactly.
Do you want me
But
to hang this up in the living room?
that
No, absolutely not.
that's where it all started. Like I started basically from that, and then
Yeah.
my interest grew, and I wanted to learn and get better and make a better sign. And then from there, I started making things with pallets, right? Because
Oh
I
yeah.
think everybody
Yeah.
starts out like deconstructing pallets.
100%. 100. And that was like that was peak pallet furniture era, right?
Oh
Like
yeah, it was.
2016
Yeah,
to 2019, like pallet furniture was
yeah.
just going absolutely
It was
bananas.
right in the thick of it. And you know what? I have to
Yeah.
say that I think, lucky that I started at that time because it was very forgiving.
Right? Yeah.
Pallet wood,
Right.
like you could take apart a pallet and make the ugliest piece of crap that anybody has ever seen, but it's rustic and
Yeah.
Right.
and someone will think it's great. And right, like
I
it
think
was a good time to start out because it was very
w-
forgiving.
what is so captivating about pallet furniture for people? Is it the fact that it's free?
Free.
And
I
you can
think
just
so.
kind of anybody can kind of find the material on the side of the road, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that must be what
But I
it
mean,
is.
think of when you started, right? Like you're like, oh my God, that Ryobi drill that's $50. Like not disparaging anybody starting. You're like, that's a lot of
Yeah,
$50 is a lot of money for somebody to just blow
true,
on a
very true.
hobby. And then
Yeah,
you're like, okay, so I want to build this sign. Oh my God, I'm spending $150 on lumber to make this. Or
Yeah.
on the way to your mother-in-law's house, you're like, "Oh my god, there are 3 pallets on the side of the road.
yeah,
I won the jackpot."
but
Yeah.
You
sure,
know?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. And taking apart a pallet is the worst thing. Do you have one of those big breaker bars specifically for it?
No, you know what? I learned pretty quickly once I got a little more comfortable. I said, you know what? Screw
No
this.
more,
Like, this is
no more pallet.
way too much work and trouble. And you spend 3 hours taking apart a pallet, and then you
Yeah,
end up with like 2.5 feet of usable wood from that
yeah,
pallet.
yeah.
Because half of them
Half of it's
split.
split.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
Yeah.
they're like, they have like, you know, suspect markings or stains on them that you don't want
spray
to use
paint.
it. And
Yeah,
Dog feces.
yeah.
but yeah, that's how I started out, and then I started up my Instagram to sell the crap pallet stuff that I was making.
Okay, so it went. So you wanted to do maybe something a little bit more hands-on. Were you looking for something a little bit more physical, and then the Instagram came after that?
Yes, yeah. So I
Okay,
just
okay,
like I said, I attempted to make the sign for my
yeah,
cottage, and I found that as bad as I was at it, and as bad as the sign looked, I enjoyed doing it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it was
totally.
like it was a cool hobby that not the type of hobbies that I had had in the past, right?
Hmm.
And it was different and I enjoyed it. So I was looking for, like Eric said, like a more economical way of enjoying that hobby and not having to go out and spend a ton of money. Like I made
Sure.
with tools, I think the same mistake that a lot of people starting out make. And I mean, not necessarily a mistake because you don't want to spend a lot of money, but I went to, Canadian Tire and I
Oh
bought a
yeah.
bunch of like, Eric, no, we spot we talked about Canadian Tire, I think, when you
Yeah.
came on the For the Gram podcast, but
Hmm.
it's like the Canadian Menards.
No, no,
Maybe not even.
it's Harbor Freight here.
Harbor
It's like
Freight. Yeah.
these
All right,
it's
Harbor
like the
Freight.
Yes.
tools that are like
Yeah,
very, very
Cheap.
suspiciously made.
yeah. Oh
And you're
right.
like it makes Ryobi seem like a
Oh yeah, they're
Ferrari.
like Festools compared to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
I went out and bought a bunch of Mastercraft stuff that was,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
Canadian Tire's house brand, and
Hmm.
you learn as you go. Like I bought their planer that, you know
Oh,
Oh
what,
they made a
Lord.
planer.
they
Oh my
did at the end
god.
of the day, it wasn't really that much cheaper than going out and buying, something decent, a DeWalt, the
Yeah,
DW735 there, I think it is.
that's the
But I bought
workhorse.
this thing and it was the loudest. It sounded like a Boeing 747 was taking off from my garage when I run a piece of pine through the thing.
Yeah, I have the
Never-
Mastercraft planer pulled up on my browser right now, and
Yeah.
it is $529.
Yeah, no, it's
And
not.
Wow.
it's not cheap.
Yeah.
It's like
But do you have a
it's
10% off coupon and get a free magnetic bit
Well,
tray and 3 batteries too?
here's the thing with Canadian Tire. If you wait for the sales, it'll
yeah.
go from like $529 to $108.
Jesus.
Mhm.
Let's say you get a win for like 300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But they probably have a ridiculous warranty, right? Anything happens that you take it in and a guy who doesn't even make eye contact with you just goes, "Oh, here's another one," right?
I don't know. I never got that. Like
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
sort of like just gave up on it when I, started to learn a bit more and said, you know what? Let me just get something that's like I tried to run hard maple through that thing.
Oh no.
There's
Probably just bent the blades backwards, right?
the whole machine like vibrated itself right out of the garage.
In the trash can.
So you got all the Canadian Tire tools and you slowly upgraded. And then what
Yeah.
did it become like, I need to sell this so that I can actually afford to buy these tools basically?
Yeah, that's basically what it was. I would sell something and work my way up, get a little bit better
Yeah.
tool.
That's the
And
hustle, right? Sell
yeah.
a piece, buy a new tool, sell a piece, buy a new tool. Like that's how you build up your shop in the beginning.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
when I did my first dining table, and I didn't have a track saw, so I borrowed someone else's track saw, and then the money I made on that dining table, which I significantly underpriced. Again,
Of
Oh,
course.
we all
you
did.
learn
course.
as you go. I took that profit and I went and bought myself a track saw. So now I was able to, start doing stuff with a track saw and sort of built my way up that way.
I think
Mhm.
that's a misconception is viewers see everybody on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, and they're like, man, must be nice to just have 50 grand to go out and
Yeah.
buy all of your tools at once. It's like, No, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
a
well, because
long road.
Yeah.
when people
Yeah.
follow you on social media, they're tuning in to like, season 10 of your
Yeah.
life, essentially,
Right.
right? They
Right.
didn't see season one, two, three, four, five, like the slow build up. And I mean, probably like Dom saying, a lot of that stuff happens pre-social media, right? Like I know
Oh
that's how
yeah.
like I got all my tools before I ever got interested in social media. And
Right.
then
Yeah.
so
Because
people
you
are like,
did it
well, how do you
professionally.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, yeah, but people don't see that build up portion. They just see this person with all these tools and then yeah, oh, must be nice.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So Dom, one of the things that we're always interested in, because Zach and I have had next to zero luck in this avenue, is actually selling stuff to people. Like
Mhm.
you still sell stuff to people, don't you?
I do not as much as and I'm grateful for it that I've gotten to sort of the point where I can pick and choose,
Right.
Yeah.
right? What I'm interested in, what will be a decent, project. But that was something that when I started out, because I had no intention of doing content creation, and I
Right.
was just
Right.
like, hey, I want to make some money if I can sell this, pallet coffee table and make $100. That's amazing, right? That's
Yeah.
great.
Right.
But then I sort of started selling stuff, and I got to the point where I had to make a decision. Am I going to try and be a full time like woodworker and try to make money selling woodworking stuff and quit my job?
Right.
Or am I going to, stick with my job? And I sort of, had a conversation with my wife and said, look, I'd like to try this. I always wanted to do my own thing. I never liked working for somebody and having to, hey, can I have an extra 15 minutes for lunch today? Because my kids, doing a play at school. I never
Right.
liked that. Right.
No
If I
soup
want to go
for
see,
you.
exactly. Right. So you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. If it
Mhm.
doesn't go well after, the first year, thankfully my wife has a really good job too. So that made things a little bit easier. Right. But I say, you know what, if things don't go well in 6 months or 12 months from now, I just go get, another
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
right? And go back to it. But from the day I left my job, I sort of in my own head, without saying to anybody, I said, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to never have to go back and work for
Oh
somebody
yeah.
else ever
Oh
again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
And
never seeing any of these dorks ever again.
yeah,
I'm out of here, losers.
and I like hustled. Like I can't tell you, I did like cold calls. I would go like out and knock on doors, and that like charcuterie boards were just becoming a big popular thing, right? It went from
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
people not knowing what they were to suddenly everybody wanted a charcuterie board, right? So again, you're getting into woodworking. That's pretty easy. Like, it doesn't get any easier than that, really. There's
Yeah.
very hard to make a big mistake on a charcuterie board,
Fair.
right? So like I walked into I don't know how many restaurants and bars and like golf course, clubhouses and with like samples in the back of my truck. And hey, I'm give them a business card and I'm so and so. I do this. You guys have it. And a lot of places just like showed me the door and said, "Get
Right.
out of here.
Right.
We're
Right.
not. We're not." But for every 10 places that did that, if I got lucky, one place said, "Yeah, okay, let's see what you got." And I sort of built up business that way. And for the first few years of my business, where before the content creation thing started to pick up a bit, that's how I paid my bills was charcuterie boards. Like I sold
Yeah.
literally thousands of charcuterie boards, right?
Was it mostly bulk sales that you were doing? You go into business
Yeah.
and they'd order like 100 from you or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, I did
Okay.
like a
Okay.
lot of bulk sales to like restaurants and hotels and that sort of
S-
thing. And then like I do the odd market and show, especially around Christmas time, and those
Sure.
were
One of a
and
kind show
those
and stuff like that.
yeah. Well, I never did anything that big. Like I did them on a
Okay.
smaller scale,
Okay.
because
You
those
ever have
big ones
any
I
luck
did.
with those?
They're hit and miss. Like I've done
Okay.
Yeah.
shows honestly where I've done really well, where I'd go back no problem because I made like good money at them. I
Sure.
did other shows where I'd stand there all day and not make one sale,
Mm.
Right.
right? So it's hit and miss. The thing with them, the way I always looked at them, and I did a lot of them for a few years in those early years, was I looked at it as sort of a marketing exercise.
Yeah.
to keep me from getting discouraged. If I went and did a show and I sold nothing that day, I said, well, you know what? 32 people took my card.
Right.
And maybe,
True.
one of those people, and it has happened. I've had people still to this day call me and say, hey, I met you at such and such market like 3 years ago. Can you make me a charcuterie board? And yeah, right. So
That's
you
cool.
have to sort of look at markets that way. Otherwise, they
Yeah.
become really discouraging because some of
Yes.
them are
Yeah.
really expensive. Like you're spending like $1,000
To get a
to go
booth,
do this
right?
market, right? And like compared to the one of a kind, $1,000 is nothing.
Yeah, I
Right?
don't. One of a kinds. It's like this big show for people selling homemade stuff here in Toronto, and I think it's like $5,000 for the
Yeah.
weekend or something like
Ooh.
that.
Yeah.
It is not cheap. It's kind of border on big business.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not, you have to sort of go through a process to even be accepted into that one.
Yeah,
You can't just have
and
anybody
they have
showing up
all
there.
sorts of crazy rules. Like you can't run out of inventory
Yeah.
throughout the week, otherwise they kick you out. And like you have to have it all has to be Canadian made. There can't be like any American products or
Yeah.
Chinese products or anything. It's like very
Wow.
strict. They've got all
Yeah.
sorts of crazy rules.
I know a few people that I've met through doing these markets that, they got into the one of a kind show and they basically spend 9 out of the 12 months of their year preparing for this one show.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're throwing all your eggs into that basket and hoping that, it's going to go really well for you.
Yeah.
So then what kind of made you did you start to get into social media to try to like drive more business to the
Yeah.
product sales?
Yeah, that's 100% what it was. Because at the time when I started Instagram, like I said, in 2016, this whole content creation thing wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
There was very few people I knew who were sort of like maybe getting a free drill here and there, or,
Bottle of glue.
getting a bottle of
Oh,
glue,
glue.
but
That was
no,
big back in the day.
like
Like even
nobody
those just
was.
those little freebies. It was
Yeah.
funny.
Pencil.
Yeah, but that's like in
No.
sort of the maker woodworker DIY space, nobody was like getting paid or doing campaigns with brands. That was it wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I started my page just as a way to, feature what I was making and try to, sort of have like a digital business card to say, hey, if you want to see some of what I'm doing, because I didn't even have a website yet at that point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I don't think anyone had a website when they
Yeah.
first started. Right?
And how did it work for you? Did you find it to be like a good kind of lead generation?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like I did more. I think things changed when Instagram went more video.
Yes.
When it was a
100%.
picture, a photo app, it was a lot easier to get business from Instagram.
It
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
boom,
I used to,
finished photo. Somebody's like, I
Yeah.
want that.
exactly.
You're not
Right.
selling
Now-
anything off videos now.
No, what do you said? Because the video's showing a process. It's hard. Like, yeah, you get
Yeah.
now and then you'll get someone messaging you saying, hey, can you make me this or that? But like most of my actual business these days in terms of like product is from either word of mouth or from repeat clients.
Makes sense.
Right? It's not like, again, I can't say I don't get any business from Instagram, but it's a lot less than it was in those early days.
Mm-hmm.
So then
And-
what kind of morphed you into a content creator? Is it just like you slowly started to realize that you kind of are gaining more traction through that avenue?
Yeah, I mean, as my following started to grow and I realized I liked making videos, right? I liked, posting nice pictures and that sort of stuff. And then as, brands start reaching out to you, you say, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of having to sell 400 charcuterie boards, I can do this one ad
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and not be sanding for, 3 weeks
Mm-hmm.
of sanding charcuterie boards, right?
Yeah.
And you can
totally.
dick around on the ad too. Like you can screw around,
Yeah.
have fun with it, let some of your personality come out, and you're like, wait,
That's right.
that's gonna pay me the same amount as all of this work?
Yeah.
then you get stuck. Then you're like, oh, well, I'm only gonna do ad spots from now on for the rest
Oh,
of my life.
Well, that's
yeah.
the thing. That's the tough balance, because I've said this as well before, because I've had people say to me, "Why do you still do, like, because if somebody reaches out to me and they want one charcuterie board, 9 out of 10 times I'll say yes and I'll do it, right?"
Mhm.
And I've had people say to me, like, "Why?" Well, for because and it's true, because sometimes I'll be really busy. I'll be in the middle of doing, like, filming a video for a campaign for, X brand,
Sure.
and I'll, get a message and, like, somebody wants one charcuterie board, and, like, in the back of my mind, I'll be like, "What the fuck? Can you swear on this podcast?
Oh
Is that
yeah,
allowed?"
go for it.
Oh,
Oh
It's
yeah.
'Cause it's
100%.
like, what the
Yeah.
fuck, man? I don't want to do this piece of crap now. Like, I'm gonna make $80 on this. But
Well, now do you find that, like, when somebody reaches out to you for something like that, like, obviously you don't really care about the money from one charcuterie
yeah,
board, but is it like part of then keeping up with your, is it like, I don't know, like it's part it you do it to help your social media business because that person is that's
yes,
like a
yeah.
follower on
Well,
Instagram who's reached out to you, right?
that's right. And the other
Yeah.
thing for me that I try to keep that part of the business alive is, I think we all know the content creation side of the business is very competitive.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and
Yeah.
if you sort of let that stuff go, and things are great today, they were great yesterday, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring in terms of content creation.
Oh, yeah.
The brands one day are good, eventually they're going to stop knocking on the door, and because they're going to
Mhm.
find other doors to go to, and you
Somebody
hope
would
that
do it cheaper.
that's right.
Yeah.
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 And you hope that another brand will come along to replace the one that just left, but you never know,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You never
Right.
know if that stuff's going to dry up suddenly one day.
Yeah.
So it's good to have not let all of that stuff go, especially with returning, clients. I never say no, because once you say no one time, if they really
stop
need it,
coming.
they're going to go find someone else to do it for them, and
Yeah.
that's going to be their new go-to person,
For sure, for sure.
right?
I mean, yeah, like how many times if you call up a garage to have your oil changed and they say no, we're not going to do
Yeah.
it, you're not going to call them again, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
yeah, it's
Oh,
about
you're
maintaining those
over it. Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so with your business, like what percentage of revenue comes from social media, we'll call it, versus, product sales?
So like content creation, you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
At this point, I'd say we're probably like 75-25 split.
Okay.
Like
So
75%
predominantly
is
content creation.
content. Yeah.
Content.
Yeah.
Which has
So-
has really sort of made that switch in the last 2 years, maybe. I sort of, maybe a couple years ago, like just after the pandemic hit, is when I sort of made that switch and started making more from the content than I was making from product.
Interesting.
So,
Right.
genuine question, because Zach and I have tried to monetize Instagram
yeah.
with varying success.
Yeah.
And you live in Canada, which means you guys were never never had access to the windfall of cash that Instagram was throwing out during the Reels bonus days and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. You cannot make money natively on Instagram as a Canadian.
No.
So
well, just
how the
recently,
hell do you make
I don't
money?
know if Zach got this feature yet, but I had got, like, maybe a month ago, I can have ads play on my profile now.
Oh,
When
yeah.
people go to my profile and they scroll through my posts, after every 5 posts, an ad comes
Yeah.
up.
Oh,
Right?
interesting. No, I didn't get that, but I haven't been on
Yeah.
Instagram in like a month.
I haven't. I'm gonna while we're keep talking. I'm gonna
But
look up.
okay, so here's
am
just,
too.
and I know what you're looking up, because I'll tell you, I've had it for about a month now.
9 cents.
Yeah, I made 2 weeks ago, I made 7 cents. Last week I made 0, and this week I just updated, I made 5 cents.
Oh my god.
So
Because the thing is, that's not how users use Instagram these days.
No.
Like, when was the last time you went to somebody's page and just scrolled through their entire profile?
no, if
Stalker.
it's someone new that you're, checking out to see if you want to follow them, I'll go. and scroll through maybe their first 5 or 6 posts, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Nobody's got
it's
time for that.
so Dom, are you kind of like me then when it comes to monetizing your Instagram page? The only way to do it is through just like brand partnerships? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Have
there's Instagram's introduced this subscriptions, but which
mhm.
I think is great depending on what your content is and what your niche is, but like
Yeah. I've
no
always felt weird
nobody's
about
gonna
that.
pay $4.99 a month to like get by. I have no behind the scenes. Like what you're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
on my day-to-day content is it. That's what I got. Like I don't
Right.
have.
Well, and it's also like a chicken and egg thing
Yeah.
because in order to justify the time to create
Yeah.
all of that behind the scenes content to make it worthwhile, you need people who are willing to give you that $4.99.
Well,
So,
that's the other thing, right? Like you start up, for $2.99 a month, and you get 100 people sign up, which I think would be pretty good.
yeah,
You're making $300 a month, but like
yeah,
now you need to make all this content to justify that $300.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
yes, yes. It's yeah, it doesn't
So,
really work
so
out.
basically, the only way that you're able to run the business is basically doing brand partnerships and stuff. So,
yeah.
how do you go about getting those? Are they predominantly brands that reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? Do you have an agent? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I do reach out to brands when I find the brand that I want to work with. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of
Hmm.
time when
Hmm.
you're the one reaching out, I think you guys know that a lot of times the brand's a little like, hey,
Yeah,
what are you doing? Like, don't reach out to us. Like,
Don't
we'll
talk to
reach
me.
out to you when, yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Right.
it's like when you were selling charcuterie boards door
Yeah,
to door. For me, it's been like maybe 10% of brands I've reached out to have
yeah,
been interested in working
Oh,
with me.
dude,
yeah,
mine's lower than that.
You think so? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I think I have very low self-esteem, so I get discouraged really quickly. So I think when I first started doing Instagram, I reached out to like 30 companies all at once, and I heard back from maybe one or two.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm just not going to do outreach
I
anymore.
don't think I've reached out to a company in 2.5 years.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think so either.
It's mostly, I mean, most of my deals are from them reaching out to me,
Right.
Yes.
right? The
Yeah.
vast majority, but I feel like there's nothing to lose reaching out. Even
Oh,
if
definitely not.
Agreed.
you know what, most likely it's going to be a no if you even get an answer, but I have, gotten a couple good deals, well, more than a couple good deals by me making that initial contact.
Well, that's good to
Uh,
know.
right. A couple of times, even it was initially a no, but
Yeah.
down the road, a few months later, they reached out back to me again. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's really no harm. The worst they can
Yeah.
say is,
Totally.
what, we're not interested, or if they want to be, nice and put in a nice way, they'll tell you, we don't have any campaigns going on right now, and
Our
Yeah. Oh,
budget's
I heard that
full.
one a lot.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Our budget is used up for the year, and
Hmm. Hmm.
but
But so you're all on Instagram. You have not gotten into the YouTube game yet.
so
Well, you have a
it's
channel.
We have
I
a
have a
channel
channel.
with
I have like
shorts.
1,000 subscribers. No, I have like full,
Oh, you
like,
do?
yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I have
Is
like
it the staining video?
no, that's Vic. Vic has like the 9-minute staining video.
I didn't know if you took Vic's 9-minute staining video, but
I've got like most of my videos have like 100, 300 views. I have a couple that have done okay. I think my best one has like 40,000 views, which is like
Yeah, that's
nothing
not
in the
nothing to
That's
sneeze
YouTube
good.
at.
world, but
Yeah, that's
that's
quite good.
one. That's one video. It's not like they're all getting that. That's right. And you want to know the funny thing? That one video is it's sponsored content.
Oh,
Oh,
Right? It's
interesting.
Huh.
for a brand deal. And it's funny the amount of brands that are interested in getting YouTube content from me, knowing that my YouTube reach is very small.
Interesting.
Right?
But they must see that one video and be like, well, and
Oh, I don't know.
sometimes I find with brands, you never know what's going on behind the scenes with the brand.
Yeah.
They might have some partnership with Home Depot where they're looking to show that they're out there, like, our
Yeah.
product is available. You can get it at Home Depot. And there's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example of this because I've had this recently a couple times where companies will be like, well, we just want to show Home Depot that we're taking our advertising game seriously. So we are spending money on YouTube to prove to Home Depot or to Lowe's or something like that that we're out there pushing the product, which is exclusively available at Home Depot. So.
Yeah. I feel like too some brands are savvy enough to realize that the content on YouTube has legs more than like Instagram or TikTok. And I may have 1,000 subscribers now, but they're almost sort of like hedging their bets that if this guy ends up with 100,000 subscribers, that
100%.
video that has 150 views today might end up with 100,000 views down the road.
Yep.
Right.
They look at your Instagram and they're like, oh, this guy's capable of building an audience, so we're gonna, get in on early on the YouTube thing with him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, I'm case of this. I've talked to you guys about this before. I've had YouTube videos that were literally over 3 years old that out of nowhere they've gone. The first 3 years had like 1,000 views.
Yeah.
That's how my most popular video on YouTube is. I'm at like 2.5 million views, and I got those literally 2.5 million views on that video in like 3 months. 4 months. After the video has been out for almost 4 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane. Like,
But-
you've
and
got an
that's-
opportunity.
That's the beauty of YouTube, and I've said to a lot of people as well that I wish in hindsight the time and effort I put into growing my Instagram I had put into growing my YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But
it's not too late.
No, it's not. It's definitely not too late. No.
And especially like you've got a lot of humor to your personality. People would eat that up on YouTube. You add some funny voiceovers to the stuff that you're doing, some, dry humor and jokes and stuff. People would be all over that, like making woodworking funny, right? People love that. People would watch it not even to see, they don't care what you're building. They just want to see what
they just want
humor
to
you got.
they want to be entertained and
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the mix that you want to try to aim for with any social media pages. You want to have some educational content, but you want people to be entertained because you could be the best at what you do, but if it's boring, nobody's
100%.
going to care.
It's like watching a
Totally
Nova documentary in science class as a kid. But then you got Bill Nye, right? Bill Nye is a character. He's entertaining you, but he's teaching you.
We had the knockoff of Bill Nye up here in Canada called Beakman.
Yeah.
What? You guys didn't have Bill Nye?
Well, we had Bill Nye, but we also had Beakman.
Basically, in Canada, for every like famous American there's a knockoff Canadian version of
100%.
that.
Yeah.
Right? Like you guys had Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
We had Mr. Dress Up.
Yes.
Mr. Dress Up. What?
Yeah.
I've got to
here's
look this character up.
Here's the way Canadian TV works. They see what works in the US and they're like, oh, we'll just do that, but over here. And then they do
Mr.
it.
Dress
to,
Up's getting put on the list down here.
Oh, no doubt.
Well, he had a tickle trunk.
He did have a tickle trunk. He did have a tickle trunk. That's correct.
Oh, that could be a title. One where they visit
Oh,
the
yeah.
tickle trunk.
Trunk.
But you know what? Another point about working with brands that in Canada is a little bit more difficult is in a lot of cases we're working with the Canadian branch of a brand, right? The Canadian office, and the budgets are not the same as the US branch of that brand.
Oh, that's interesting because I've actually always kind of felt the opposite. I felt that we're kind of lucky to be in a smaller market because a lot of the time I find that there's not, let's say somebody wants to do, a power tool with an Instagram content creator. There's only like, I don't know, 10, 20 of us in Canada. But in the
Yeah.
US, you might have 200 people that you can
Yeah.
work with,
Yeah,
right?
but I
There's
just I
20 in my
find that
neighborhood.
I find the budgets are smaller
Interesting.
that the
Interesting. Yeah.
brand has to work with, or at least
That's
what they
true.
say they have to work with. Because
Yes.
I mean, I'll compare, brands that don't have a Canadian branch. So you're working directly with the US
Yes.
office, and they seem to have more money in their pockets than
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Canadian ones do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
So do you foresee spending or to really diving in on the Instagram, or is that something you're slowly backing off of and pivoting somewhere? Like where's 2024 headed for you?
Yeah, no, I'd like to do again. I'd like to do more with YouTube because I
Mhm.
feel like I can take things into my own hands with YouTube
Yeah.
and take control of what I'm earning there if I put the time and effort in. Whereas with Instagram, again, it's sort of like I do well there, but the control is not with me. Like I said, that can
Right.
all go away tomorrow, and what am
Yeah.
I left with?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I have a big following, but it's worthless.
Hmm.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, if there's no built-in mechanism to monetize it,
Yeah.
it makes it extremely challenging.
Yeah.
YouTube
That's
has
the
that.
That's right. And that's where I'd like to, put more of my focus
Yeah.
for this year and try to grow that, because
So
then
would you?
you're not as reliant on brands. Like if you get a brand
Right.
deal, great. But if you don't, you're at least
You're
still
still getting
bringing in
paid.
some. That's right.
Yes. There's at least a little bit of a baseline. And I
Yeah.
also feel like YouTube, when I posted an ad on Instagram, I felt like I was kind of fighting the platform a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you post an ad and it'll just like tank, it'll do
Yeah.
horribly. And it's like, that hurts your leverage when you
Yeah.
go to bargain for your next deal. Whereas on YouTube, like you're earning money by getting views, they're earning money by you getting views.
Yeah.
So you're kind of aligned on that, right? Like
Yeah.
you both
Right.
want to get views.
Yeah.
Right.
That is one thing I found with YouTube. The few, sponsored videos that I've done there, it hasn't hurt me
Yeah.
by marking them as sponsored. Whereas,
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Instagram, you put, paid promotion and you're done. You
Yeah.
just turn off your phone for the next week because you're not getting no
Yeah.
notifications. Nobody's
Yeah.
right.
Well, it's interesting. Like people see that paid thing and they just keep scrolling on Instagram, but on
Oh,
YouTube,
yeah.
it's kind of just standard fare. You get the little disclaimer at the start
Yeah.
of the video. Every single video I've ever put out, well, like in the last 2 or 3 years, has one of those, right?
Yeah.
And
It's
I've never
default
found.
for me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just click the box. It doesn't even matter. Like I don't think about it. But on Instagram, I'm like, oh, I had to check this box. It's gonna kill the engagement on this
Yeah.
post.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So do you change the name of the podcast from For the Gram to For the Tube
We
in
might.
2024?
Yeah.
We might.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell
Yeah.
people
Maybe.
about, for people who don't know, this is
Yeah.
a podcast actually worth listening to, unlike the Green Suiters podcast
Yeah.
available on Apple and Spotify. Tell them about For the Gram.
Yeah, For the Gram, we it's myself and Vic, the Stump Shop. I think most people are probably familiar with them,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like what you guys do. We just chat and
Yeah.
talk about our experiences with social media. I mean, it's called For the Gram, but we talk about everything from Instagram to our experience on TikTok, and trying to find our way on YouTube, and a whole bunch of other stuff. The Rock, and
You guys are a
Why?
lot
Exactly,
funnier
yeah.
than we are, though.
why Eric scuba dives in his garage, and all kinds of stuff.
And you guys were nice enough to pick my intro. I recorded an intro for
yeah.
them. They use my intro every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we use it all the
Nice, nice.
time.
I know.
Yeah.
What about the Micro Machines guy? He's got a pretty good intro.
The other guy, yeah, I don't know, that guy's a little bit too like. It sounds like it's a cage match is coming up. He's got a really intense.
Oh, it's a good show, though. It's a good show. And I was.
Yeah.
Did you bring Zach on an episode yet, or am I the only
Not
one?
No,
yet.
I've never
Not
got
yet.
the invite, the exclusive
Not
golden
yet.
ticket.
We're going to have an all Canadian episode.
The
forward
Canadian
to it.
Powerhouse
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
Well,
But
like I said, I think I mentioned to you in the podcast when you came on ours that you need to come up here and we can have like a big,
Yeah.
4-way podcast up
oh,
at my cottage slash cabin slash lake house.
I
we
think
need
that
to
sounds like a
do
great
an
plan.
entire podcast full of would you rather questions.
No.
You got any for me tonight, Tom?
I don't. I didn't come prepared with any would you rather's.
Maybe for the
Yeah.
after show, we can
Yeah.
we can do some
We can
good would you
search some.
rather's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a good idea.
So I got a question for you. If you had to restart everything, so go back to like you just started woodworking again, what things would you do differently? Would you immediately jump on social media? Would you never get on social media? Would you go for small orders? Would you go for furniture? What do you think you would do?
That's a good question. I think I do a lot the same. Like I just said, I'd spend more time on YouTube,
Mhm.
right? Like I can't complain about how Instagram has gone, but again, like I look back and say, if in 2016 I had started on YouTube the way I did on Instagram, where would I be, now,
Have a
Mhm.
million subscribers.
right? So that's one thing I would definitely change. Again, when I started out, that wasn't my intention, which is why I didn't,
Right.
start with YouTube, right? I think now somebody starts up a social media account and their goal from day one is to make money and to be, an influencer. That was not the goal in 2016.
Well, it was
So
a different
No.
landscape back
yeah,
then, right?
big,
Like
yeah, very different.
I got into Instagram because I was like, it's easier. It was like I
Yeah.
can't talk to a camera and like edit a whole video, but I could
Right.
take photos of the things I build, right? So
That's right, and that's exactly it. I mean, my whole reason for doing it was, let me take a picture of this thing that I made and post it on Instagram and say, hey, here's, if anybody's interested in this, or if I can make you
yeah,
another one, or right,
yeah,
which YouTube wouldn't have done that for me at
yeah.
that point. But
No.
right,
Yeah,
looking
my
back at
whole
where
goal
things have
starting.
gone.
Yeah. My entire goal was trying to sell this. The joke I always tell people is if you scroll all the way back on YouTube, my first video is how to make concrete coasters, right? So like a drink
Classic.
coaster made out of concrete.
Yeah.
Dude, I tried to sell those so much on Instagram. I didn't sell a single damn concrete coaster.
Coaster.
And it,
I've never actually watched that video. Did you reinforce the concrete with something so they didn't break apart?
no.
Did you put
Okay.
like little pieces of rebar inside your coasters?
I used rebar toothpicks.
Are they still on your coffee table?
Hell no. Wait, I actually might still have some in this drawer.
Did you at one
No, I
point
threw
did you
'em out.
have
I threw 'em
like
out.
hundreds of these concrete coasters?
Oh, I had like a 27-gallon because there's one behind me, like a Rubbermaid tote, which is probably about 2 feet by 2 feet by 3 feet, full of these concrete coasters.
The floor sagged in his
Yeah, there's
because
a
of the
permanent
weight
dent in
of
the
the
floor where he
yeah.
used to store them. Eric,
Well,
I think that would be like a great gift that you could give to your most hardcore and loyal fans.
oh
Is like
no.
send them out like a Eric Spenceley
Yeah.
concrete coaster.
See, what I would do is I'd go to friends' houses and just bring like 8 to 10 of them and just like pop them
Yeah.
up on their coffee table and not say anything, and then I'd leave because I didn't have the heart to throw them out. And then like I got some buddies who are like, these damn concrete coasters, like they're like, I can't get rid of them because they work well. I'm like, you want to buy them? They're like, no, you already gave them to me. But I mean,
It's,
yeah, it was one of those like I got like a $6 silicone mold on Amazon and then a $15 bag of Quickcrete, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
I am cleaning up on this transaction, right?
That's the same as the pallet wood, right? That's the
Right.
same
Yeah,
thing. You
true.
think that
Yeah.
I'm gonna sell these coasters for $25 each. I'm gonna make a fortune.
What was your
I'm gonna be
price point on them?
I
How much
think
were
I
you
was
charging
selling
per?
4 of them for like $18 or something.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's like, yeah, not bad. I mean, I'd
that's
pay that for a set
reasonable.
of coasters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But who wants a big piece of concrete just hanging out
But that's
on their
but
coffee
that's
table?
the way the mind works. Like you're thinking that this is a surefire, like
hmm
you're
hmm
retiring and you're like pulling your yacht in right next to Bill Gates. Right?
What'd you do? Build Microsoft? I sold a bunch of concrete coasters, you idiot.
It could be one of those fads, like those stupid plastic fidget spinners.
Oh,
You're like, how'd
my
you
friend got
retire?
me.
The concrete industry. Uh-oh.
My
It's
friend
actually
literally
bad.
got me a concrete, not a concrete coaster, a fidget spinner last weekend when I saw him. He flew up from New York and he bought a box of these and he gave one to all of the guys on this trip that we went on.
What does he hate you?
No, I think he knows that we're all just very like ADHD kind of guys. He was like, this will keep them calm throughout the weekend and then they won't bug me so much.
Man, imagine if we could have made pallet wood fidget spinners.
Oh, I
Oh,
bet
that
somebody
sounds bad.
did.
I bet you could with a laser cutter. John,
Get
you
us
got that laser cutter
you,
right there.
your logo, your 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 slogan could have been "Get a splinter with every spin."
I like
Gotta
it.
make it out of the full size boards too, and just spin it over your head.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know
Can we-
what I started doing with that laser actually?
What's
Well,
that?
speaking of because Zach brought up the idea of giving away the coasters to your followers, I started a while back. Every now and then, when I have time, I'll do it. I'll burn someone's face into a piece of toast, and then I cast the slice of toast in epoxy, and then I mail it to them without them knowing it's coming.
Oh, that's funny.
So when they open it up, it's like their face on a piece of toast.
What kind of toast? Is it rye, wheat,
It's just
white
like
bread?
Wonder Bread.
Dempsters.
Yeah.
Right. I
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
I don't think they have Wonder Bread. I think that's a Canadian.
Oh, is that a Canadian thing? I was gonna
think
say that.
so.
No, we
Dempsters
got
was-
Wonder Bread. I get
You
the
guys have
factory.
Wonder Bread? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
Do you
factory.
guys have Dempsters?
I don't know.
No.
I'm not a
Okay,
big,
so
big
Dempsters
bread
maybe is the
connoisseur.
Canadian one. Yeah.
I think
Maybe it's
Dempsters is the
Dempsters,
Canadian one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but what you got to do is put a bag of milk in
Do
there.
you guys have Coca-Cola in the U.S.?
No,
Only Pepsi.
only Pepsi.
Dr. Pepper,
Yeah, Dr.
All
Pepper.
Dr. Pepper down here.
Oh,
the bag
I-
of milk. Yeah.
yeah, what's with the bag of milk?
I don't know. It's great. You buy a bunch of bags in a bag, and then you put them in a
Yeah.
little container, cut the corner, and you're good to go.
You got to buy a special container. That's the thing is you need a
Yes,
whole
the-
special container.
Ooh,
for
there's
it.
a great. If you could make a concrete milk bag holder, you'd clean up.
Done.
You would
I'm gonna
dominate
make
the Canadian
everything out of
market.
concrete.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? The first time I went down to Workbench with Vic and Mark, so we
Mhm.
drove down.
Oh,
Right.
I think.
We-
Yeah,
Was
keep
this
going.
the
I think
time you
Mark
guys got
may have,
abducted in Ohio?
No, wow,
Yeah.
Mark almost got abducted. Everybody was fine, but we drove down, and Mark thinks it's gonna be hilarious to bring a bag of milk. So we meet up like the Wednesday or Thursday morning at like 4:30 a.m. to start this drive. He shows up with the container with a bag of milk in it. Like, what the fuck you doing with this bag of milk? I'm gonna bring it down. It's gonna be hilarious, and everybody like the Canadian guys with the bag of milk. Nobody laughed. No,
Nobody gave a shit, did they?
and like by day 2, he's so mad. He's like, "This fucking bag of milk. Like, what was I thinking bringing this?" Back?
I can't imagine Mark getting mad though.
Everybody was
Yeah,
just
true.
basically, dude, why are you walking around with a bag of milk for? But I don't get it.
It's a big gag gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you going back this year? I know you didn't go last year. Are you
No.
going this year?
No, we're
No.
not going this year. No.
Ah, damn.
No.
So your review is overpriced, not worth it for you specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's my honest take on Workbench.
Ooh.
I'm sure it's no
It's
different than ours.
Derek, get ready
it's
to clip this and make it into
Yeah.
the Instagram
it's
video.
it's a really, really, really fun time. But I find that there's a lot that they could do to make it more worth what you're spending and give you more value
Right.
100%.
for
100%.
what the cost is for that trip. I mean,
Yes.
$700 for a ticket.
yeah,
And you don't even get a
America,
concrete
it's like
coaster.
$1,000 for us.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look at Workbench. I get little to no value from the actual organization
Yeah.
that puts on Workbench, but
Yeah.
just talking to the other creators
Yeah.
is where I find the
Yeah.
value of
That,
it. And
that's
also
what it is.
hanging
It's
out
in
with
having those, those conversations, after the event or outside of the event at the bar or
dinners. Yeah, the
while
bars,
you're
all
having
that stuff.
lunch. That's where the value for me is, and that's where I'd go every year if I could afford it
Yeah.
for those
Right.
conversations, right? For
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
The
But it's an
actual,
expensive trip. So fair.
it is. I mean, like I've gone to all the courses, and you know what? There was a couple that I really, really liked that
Yeah, for
I
sure.
felt like I learned something from, but
Yeah.
I just, it depends. There's value there for some people, maybe if you're starting out and you want some help. I also think it's a little bit deceiving that it's sort of marketed in a way that if you're new and you're green, it's like
Mm,
if you come down here, you're gonna learn all the secrets. And I think a lot of people, with 100 followers, go there and spend that money thinking,
Yeah.
oh man, when after this weekend, I'm gonna have, by March 30th, I'm gonna have 100,000 followers, and brands are gonna
yeah.
be beating down
Yeah.
my door to
Yeah.
work with me, and
Yeah.
right.
You'll
It's
get some
interesting.
tips
I
and
think
tricks, but
you definitely get tips
Oh,
and tricks.
will yeah, 100%.
I think the first time I went to Workbench, I didn't really get that much out of it. And that was when I was very green. I didn't I was still very new to it. I was like trying to get my footing, figure things out. And then I missed a year because of COVID. And then I went back a year when I started to have I had things a little bit more figured out. And that was the year that I think I got the most value out of it, which was last
Yeah.
year. I think I
Right.
learned so much just talking from other creators that I was able to apply to my own work. But I don't know. And yeah. I'm trying to think if I would recommend it to somebody who's very green, who's just starting out. Like, is the value there for them? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it
it's one
depends.
of those
Like,
things that-
sorry, go ahead.
No. You go.
No, I was just gonna like, I went to one course the last time I was there, and without naming any names, it was a very well-known social media personality running this course about how
Mhm.
you can monetize your social media,
Mhm.
right? So, of course, a lot of people are going to want to go to this. And you have, like, I was, I'd say I'm like a mid-tier social media guy. I'm not big by any means, but I'm not the new guy. I kind of
Sure.
have learned my
Mhm.
stuff. So I'm there thinking I'm going to pick up some good tips, but there's a lot of new green people there that want to learn, how I'm going to make money on social media. So the social media personality proceeds to spend the next hour talking about all these things you can do, and they're just not achievable for somebody starting out, right? Like, they're
Mhm.
talking about,
True. True.
you know,
True.
you can, do this, work with this brand, and they're going to pay you, and they're using real numbers, which again are not attainable for somebody with 1,000 followers.
Right.
Yes.
This brand, you're going to charge them $4,000 to create this set of content for them. But then when you're creating this content, now you're going to take pictures of all this stuff, and now you can sell the pictures to magazines and stuff, and you can charge X amount of thousands of dollars to all these magazines for these pictures, like for the next 5 years. And
Mm.
then you can make plans, and you can put them behind the paywall on your website, and people can come, and you can charge them $25.99 for the plans. And it's just, if you're
Yeah.
this person, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
you can, even still, the numbers that were being thrown out there, I would maybe dispute, but maybe you can get it. But it's
Yeah.
not sound advice for somebody that's starting out. Like you're leading them down the wrong path. You're
Yeah.
leading them
Yeah.
to a place where they're going to go home. They're going to try and do this. They're going to reach out to, People magazine with a picture of the
Yeah.
cutting board they just
Right.
made and say, "Hey, you want to buy this picture for $4,000 and I'll let you guys publish it in your magazine?" It's right.
Well, I think that the
Yeah.
challenge is like, what audience do you cater to? So if you're
sure.
catering towards an audience of folks that have just getting started, then there would be a lot of value in showing, hey, here's how you upload a reel to Instagram.
Yeah.
Here's how you edit the thumbnail on Instagram. Like, some people are going to find tremendous value in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But any of us here would be like, are you effing kidding me? Like, why am I there? But it makes it challenging because
Yeah.
I would probably argue that in general, there are probably more folks who are newer and greener
Yeah.
than there are people that have been doing this for several years
Yeah.
there.
Oh, for
But-
sure.
and-
Yeah.
That's,
Sorry,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I've said that from the first year I went, is that I think they would benefit from having, beginner courses and
100%. Yeah.
and state that that's what it is. It's a beginner
Yes.
course. This is what
Yeah.
it's all about.
Yeah.
You have like, mid-tier or like basic
Right.
courses, and then you have like advanced courses, and let
Yeah.
people decide what they're going to go to. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
nuances
definitely.
of reading the analytics inside YouTube Studio. Like, okay,
That's not
as
a
somebody
day
who's
one.
yes, somebody who's starting out is going to be like, I don't even know what YouTube Studio is. Like, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is a serious complaint, and I think you're spot on, Dom. It's like they need to have some sort of grading system, like beginner, medium, expert, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is like a pyramid there. Like there's a lot of people who are very green, and then there's the more advanced people. There's the people in the middle, and it's like, yeah, there's courses for everybody, but they don't make it clear who each one is for.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, we're at an hour here for the main show, so I think we head over to the after show. But
Sounds like a plan.
before we do that, I want to thank our newest patrons. We've got David Murphy.
Hell yeah.
It's that's Ryan Murphy's brother. Ryan Murphy's the director of a bunch of shows on Netflix, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely his brother then.
I think it's
We're
his
probably
brother.
getting scouted for our own Netflix movie right now.
Oh, can you imagine that? A horror series on Netflix?
A
Could be all
horror
the ghost stories that we would reenact from our childhood.
Oh yeah, that was like that was the gag from one of the very first episodes was ghost stories, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. Is it like
Yeah.
episode 3 or 4? The one
Yeah,
where they
something
see
like that.
ghosts or something. But
Mhm.
then, listen to this. We got Keith Johnson?
What?
Huh?
Yeah,
Never
I
heard
don't
of 'em.
recognize that name at all.
never heard of him.
Yeah.
At Keith Johnson Custom Woodworking.
Huh.
Sounds like a
Uh,
dog person.
Yeah, I'm not familiar
Looks
with
like
him.
somebody.
But
Sounds like somebody who's just looking to plug their social media.
yeah, he's probably trying to plug KJ Sawdust and Shop Sounds podcast and all these other shows. But huge shout out to our new patrons, David Murphy, and then I guess Keith Johnson. If well, there's room for everyone, I guess. But we also want to give a huge shout out to all of our top tier patrons who are helping keep the lights on. Renee, you'll like this, Dom, also known as the Goblin Spanker. We've got Dan Armendariz, Luke Schmidt, Josh at Freedom Workshop. Josh is coming down to Workbench Con, by the way.
Sure is. I know. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to meeting him in person.
Corey Duvall and Dadu. So huge shout out to all of our patrons. If you want to support the show, unlock the after show and tons of other stuff. Ooh, like that Cam Tools gift card. Let's go to
That's right.
patreon.com/offthecutpodcast because that's the only way that you can help us defeat the Green Series podcast. But you can
When are we
also
doing
go
the next
to
drawing?
what? Is that what?
So when are we doing that next drawing?
Ooh, beginning of March.
Beginning of
We'll do
March.
that.
So get in
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. But you can also go to patreon.com/forthegrampodcast
Sure can.
and check out their show. So Dom, you're on every streaming service. You're on Apple,
Yes.
Spotify, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
go
on
check out For the
all of
Gram.
them. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
You guys
check
are a
us
lot
out.
funnier than we are.
I don't know about
Definitely.
that. We have good
I
days
do.
and bad days.
Well, anyway, go check out Dom, support what he's doing, and everybody, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.
See you next week, everybody.
I won't see you next week. Have a good time.
You
To
got to
go For the
keep
Gram,
that
you
in.
will?
Yeah, I do. I'm for sure keeping that in.
You got to keep that. I won't see you next week. All right. So
All right.
this is easy. We'll end the stream and it'll basically
Yeah.
suck your audio up to the cloud. So you don't have to do anything, Dom.